The United Nations General Assembly will hold a rare emergency session this week at the request of Arab and Muslim states to discuss President Trump's statements with regard to Jerusalem. Just yesterday, the U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution condemning President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Here today in the Security Council is an insult. It won't be forgotten. It's one more example of the United Nations doing more harm than good in addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Ambassador Nikki Haley taking it one step further tonight, tweeting this: at the UN, we're always asked to do more and give more. So when we make a decision at the will of the American people about where to locate our embassy, we don't expect those we've helped to target us. On Thursday, there'll be a vote criticizing our choice. The U.S. will be taking names. Fox News contributor and former ambassador to the UN himself, John Bolton, joins us now. Ambassador, great to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Why do they hate Israel so much, apparently, at the UN?
Well, the anti-Semitism is rampant at the UN, has been for a long time. Even in the Bush 41 administration, after we repealed the General Assembly resolution from 1975 that equated Zionism with racism, basically trying to delegitimize the state of Israel, the anti-Semitism continued. And that's what you see here. This is the end of the General Assembly. Everybody wants to get home for vacation. They're now in a flurry of activity. The good news is it's all a big charade. This is theater. Theater of the absurd, many would say. I think the vote on Thursday is likely to be, roughly 180 to 2 against us, and it won't make the slightest bit of difference.
That close. Okay, so here's what the Palestinian ambassador has said about this whole thing.
With this veto, the United States has missed an opportunity to correct its illegal decision with regard to Jerusalem, and it has persisted in its historic sin.
Illegal and historic sin. So with what they're going to pass on Thursday, condemning what the president's done with regard to Jerusalem, then what? It's not like it's going to make him take it back or change his mind.
No, not at all. And, this notion that we put our embassy in what is patently the capital city of Israel, on territory that even the Palestinians have never said should be part of a Palestinian state, that somehow that's illegal is only if you're an international law expert can you believe things like that. But I think what they're missing in New York, certainly in the reaction to the Security Council veto and after this vote in a couple of days in the General Assembly, there will be a counter-reaction in the United States. I think the Trump administration now could quite easily say, let's take this UN budget out and look at it again. We pay 22%. Most Americans don't realize this. 22% of most UN agency budgets, 25% or more in terms of UN peacekeeping. These are called assessed contributions. We don't make that up. We get a budget from the UN agency, and we get to write the check for 22%. I'm not sure I'd count on those checks coming after this charade on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know that I would test this president on that issue. Okay, I want to quickly get your reaction to something about some missiles coming into Saudi Arabia from Yemen from a rebel group there, it's believed. Here's what Ambassador Haley said about that today.
There were reports this morning that the Houthi militants in Yemen have fired yet another missile into Saudi Arabia. According to the Houthis themselves, it was targeted at a meeting of Saudi leaders in Riyadh, in an area crowded with government offices. While we don't yet have sufficient insight into this particular attack, it bears all the hallmarks of previous attacks using Iranian-provided weapons.
So more Iran in the midst of the chaos.
The Houthi are surrogates for Iran, and people should really look at a map. Yemen is kind of the back door to Saudi Arabia, the other oil-producing monarchies. This is another effort by Iran to destabilize the Middle East as they approach a nuclear weapons capability, which their friends in North Korea are rapidly approaching as well. With the defeat of the ISIS caliphate in Syria and Iraq, Iran now has a direct arc straight through Iraq, Syria, and Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Mediterranean. So there's no wonder that the Saudis and others are very worried about Iran being in their rear in Yemen as well. The Middle East and North Africa have been descending into chaos for much of the last 8 years under Obama. This is another piece of evidence of it, and it's why I think the president's national security strategy, which he brought out yesterday, shows it's a very different view of how American interest in this region play out. And I think that's what Nikki Haley's speech reflects, too.
And all of this against the backdrop of another deadline for the president to decide about certification on the Iran nuclear deal in January as well.
He should tank the deal entirely. This is I think the best thing to do is create a new reality and move on from there.
All right, Ambassador, always great to see you.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming in.